Kirby handle won't stay vertical or hard to remove? Then this is a video for you. Don't forget everything used in the video today. There are links in the description below for the best place to get those Kirby products. Make sure you check those out at the end of this video. Hi Kirby fans, welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be looking at the Kirby Handle Pivot Assembly. Now this is going to be a tutorial on how to change it as well, but first of all I'll go through the issues that a lot of people have. If you're looking at replacing your early Kirby Pivot assembly, then I'll put a link to a video at the end of this one. So make sure you check that out for anything pre-1991. So anything pre-generation, there will be a video link at the end of this video. So let's jump in today's video and have a look at some of the issues that people have with the Kirby Handle Pivot assembly. Right, so here we have the Handle Pivot assembly. So this is an addition that Kirby brought in the G3, and then they changed the design of it onto the G4. And when the Centria came out, they came out with a few more features. So most of the features that are on this are on the early generations, but there's one feature that isn't included in the early Centrias before that. Right, so starting off with it in the middle, you've got two features. So in the middle, it doesn't do anything. You can drop your handle all the way down, like so. If you push it all the way to the right, that will let you tilt up the Kirby. So it will lean that back, that handle will drop, and you can lift the Kirby up with the handle, with that pivot, get it over any tiles or any carpets that are raised. Now the other feature we've got with this, and this is on from the late Centrias onwards, so right up to the Avalir 2. No earlier Kirbys had this. You can push that all the way to the left, should I say, and that will lock the handle. So now that handle's locked, we can reach down and lift that Kirby up, and as you can see, it's staying perfectly in a 90-degree angle. So this isn't flopping around, and it just keeps that weight nice and balanced. The only thing you have to remember is when you want to use your Kirby, obviously it's not going to move. A lot of people forget this, and this is what causes problems, which I'll explain in a second. So to lower this down now, we push it in the middle, and we can lower the handle all the way down. So lower it like so, and then what we can do is push this lock across, and that will lock that in that position. Lift our Kirby up, and we can lean it up against the wall or in a closet out the way, just resting on that front bumper. Now to release that again, we're just going to lower it. So make sure that's down, push that across to the middle. That will raise up. And then if you want to keep it, I normally keep mine to the left, just so that when I'm lifting it, I can raise it over carpets. I don't have to keep remembering to turn that on. If you want it to go all the way down for under beds, just push that to the middle and it will go all the way down. And you can get under your beds. Now the other feature for the handle pivot assembly is for the handle. So you can press that button there, and we can lift our handle out and then fit our portable handle, and then just slot this back in. It's just a seatbelt clip, and that drops back in. So there's quite a few features on the Kirby Handle Pivot assembly. Right, so for the repair today, what we're going to be using is a Kirby Avalir 2. It works the same process across the G series as well. Really simple to do. There's four tools you're going to need. Obviously your Kirby, a new Kirby Pivot assembly. There will be a link in the description of where to get one of these. A Torx 25, a Torx 20, a Torx 15. Now if you do the early G series, there will be a lot more Phillips screws. On the later generations from the G7 onwards, mainly Torx. I think it was a G6 that was a bit of a mixture of both, or the G5, I can't remember offhand, but you'll see that when you come to do it. So as long as you've got some of those and you've got a Phillips screwdriver, then you'll be fine. This will be a tiny bit of a time lapse when I'm doing the screws, but I will explain as I go. So let's jump in and start changing this pivot assembly. Now once you've got your Kirby down to this condition, so your bag removed, your handle removed, and your lead sort of wound up, it's pretty simple. Make sure your belt's wound off. Mine's already wound off, so mine should just lift off straight away. So lift your portable head off, because you don't need that. So next up, we're going to use our Torx 15, and we're going to undo these two screws. Otherwise the lead's attached to the top cover and it just sort of gets in the way, and there's more of a chance of you scratching your top cover of your Kirby. So just undo these with your Torx 15. And with that lead, I'll just pull my lead round to the front, and that will just keep that out of the way nice and neat. So now we're at the back of our Kirby. We want our Torx 20, and you're just going to undo this Torx screw here. So now we're going to remove our scuff plate. What you want is a slotted screwdriver or a small screwdriver to go in there. So with your left hand, hold your Kirby there. You're going to push that in there. So push, and that will release. It's a little flange, which you'll see in a minute when I take that off. Then that will release. Lift that up, give it a wiggle, and then lift and lift that off. So you can see this a bit more in depth. What happens is when we push our screwdriver out through there, like so, we're pushing back on this little tab here. So what that does is as we put it in, we tip it and it moves that up back and unclips it from inside there. Now don't panic, we've only got 6 more screws to go. 2 here, which we're going to undo, which are Torx 20s. And now round to the front. Raise the hood and you've got 2 Torx 20s with dome heads, so you shouldn't get these mixed up, and you've got to undo these 2 here. So now they're released, lower your hood and just lift off your top nice and gently. So now you can see that the handle pivot assembly is exposed, and we've just got these 2 screws here. Make note where they are. 9 times out of 10 there won't be any marks around them, so try and put them back in the same position, and I'll explain that as we go. So we're just going to use our Torx 25 to undo these. Right, so now you can see this is tilted back. It is attached, so you've got to make sure that when you put the new one on, you put it back in the same position. So we're going to lift it off, so I'll zoom into where we're going to lift it off. So as we look at from the rear on the left hand side of our Kirby, what we've got is a fork here. So on the early Kirbys you had like a pin and it just slotted in the middle of this fork. On the newer Kirbys you've got to make sure that when you put this pivot assembly back on, it goes on the front part of the fork, not the rear. So we lift that up and off like so. We grab our new pivot assembly, which we'll just put the same one back on. And we slot that back on there in the reverse order, so back on there on that pin. So just make sure that's on, so it's definitely on that front part. Lift that up, and then what you do is tilt this back, and you can see roughly where the screws have been. If you've got a new one, then the screw heads want to sit central, so this wants to be central to that. So we just grab our Torx 20s, so just loosely tighten them. So we can still adjust it because we've kept those nice and loose. So don't have to go all the way. So then what you do is hold that, press down and just slide that forward, because what happens is this activates this part which does your tech drive adjustment. So move that forward. So I'm just going to go back to where the screw heads were, which was roughly in the middle. And I'm just going to tighten this with a Torx 25. Okay, don't do it tight yet, just make sure it's definitely central, which it is. Then what you want to do is just nip it up. It's working sweet as a nut. So make sure you've got no sideways movement. You shouldn't have if it's a brand new Kirby. If you've got sideways movement, I will put a link to a video on how to adjust these to stop that sideways movement. But if there's no sideways movement, don't touch anything else on this. You're just changing Kirby handle pivot assembly, which is this section here. And we'll just quickly put it back together for a time lapse.
Don't forget everything used in the video today. There are links in the description below for the best place to get those Kirby products. Make sure you check those out at the end of this video. Right, so as you can see, there's a really simple fix, really easy to do. It takes about 10 minutes, if that. You don't have to use a cordless drill. You can if you like. I don't like to use cordless drills because I find they tend to round off the Torx bolt, and then you've just trashed your Kirby basically. So you're better off using hand screwdrivers if you've got a newer style Kirby. If you've got an old style, make sure you soak it in WD-40 where those bolts are first overnight. That way you can loosen them off by hand. There will be a link in the description of where to get one of these handle pivot assemblies from, so make sure you check that out if you do need one. Like I said, the main issues with these is a lot of them go rusty through people keeping their Kirbys in the garage or the shed, and then I end up getting hold of them and they need a whole new pivot assembly. I've never had one of these wear on the spring. I have never had the spring wear out. I've had one where they'd snap the side off, and I had a comment about that. Someone asked for this video specifically, so that's why I've made this video for them and anyone else who needs to know how to change these and how easy they are. Enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you want to buy me a coffee, make sure to slap that super thanks button. It's much appreciated. It helps me produce more and more content for this channel, and if you want to go for more in-depth videos and tutorials, contemplate joining the Kirby Enthusiast membership of the channel.
Now, if you want to know how to service your Kirby zip brush, check out this video. And if you've got an early Kirby and you want to know how to change the handle pivot assembly on a pre-generation Kirby, check out this video. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.